Tell y'all something while they're getting ready to get started. Y'all got to remember, one, like Robert has been saying, we have made history. But then we've made history in not just that way, but we also made history in another way. Even though we're not actually going to do a jury, but this is the most time I've ever seen this many black folks in our jury group. So that's good. We made history.
Good morning, everybody. This is case number 09-04773-CK 14 Corporation versus WJNZ Radio LLC and Michael St. Cyr. The record should reflect that the court appointed a receiver in this matter back in May of 2009. And at that point, the receiver began to run the radio station and ultimately arrived at the point where there was to be a disposition of assets. As I understand it, there has been some form of sale of assets in this case, but as I also understand it, that matter has been held up pending approval of the sale before this court. Now, what I want to do this morning is, before we get any further, I want to make sure we have all the players on the field. So let me just see who all is involved and wants to get involved. So if I could have appearances of counsel from everybody, then I think we're going to have to deal with some motions to intervene, and then after that we can get to the merits. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Your Honor. John Enholzen on behalf of the receiver and the case management.
Good morning.
Scott Hogan on behalf of the receiver.
Just one second. Let me make sure I have everybody here. Yes, sir.
On behalf of the plaintiff, 14 Corporation.
Right.
Gordon Touring on behalf of Holy Family Radio Purchaser.
Okay.
James Nordstrom on behalf of the intervening parties, Goodrich Radio and Robert S. Radio. With me is Mark Carroll.
All right.
Robert S. Woman.
Yes. Good morning, all of you. Thank you very much for being here. Let's start this way, because I don't know that we have half of you into this case yet. Let's make sure that we get everybody in if we need to. I was presented with a request for a temporary restraining order, and really in more of a belt and suspenders approach, I signed a TRO holding up the sale until Friday. Now, my understanding was that you all had to come to court for approval of the sale anyway, and I simply put in place a blocking order until we got to this hearing. That is now hereby dissolved, and so we're going to proceed this morning. But that was filed by Ms. Mims, and it was on behalf of Praise Place, the petitioner in this matter. Mr. Nordstrom, as I understand it from your motion to intervene, you represent different parties, or potential parties, I guess I should say, Goodrich Radio LLC and Robert S. Radio, is that correct?
That is
Do you have any idea what the status of Praise Place is? I thought they were going to intervene or something. Yes. Right. Well, what I want to do is I want to deal with intervention first, and then I'd like to go as far as that. I mean, I intend to try to get as much done today as I can. I'm not going to take any evidence today. I just want to know what I'm doing.
Yeah, fine. No, I don't mean to interrupt you, so.
No, that's okay.
No, I mean, because mine is always with me.
I understand.
Let's take this one step at a time.
That's fine. Right, no, that's fine. What I want to do is try to deal with the intervention request by anybody who wants to intervene, see if they're entitled to get in. Then once we figure out who is and is not entitled to get in, then I'll let those people argue. If they're not allowed to intervene, then we'll just see who wants to intervene. Okay, now, Mr. Wormser, as I understand it, you want to intervene in this action on behalf of Goodrich Radio and Robert S. Radio. Is that correct? And your request for intervention is under Michigan Court Rule 2.209, capital A3, I assume, right? You're arguing that you have a right to intervene. Is that correct? All right. And your theory is that your applicants claim an interest relating to the property or transaction which is the subject of this action and is so situated. Is that correct? And the disposition of the assets will effectively end your client's ability to make a claim. All right. Now, let's take that point up first. For those parties that are already in the case, and that would be 14 Corporation and WJNZ Radio and or Michael St. Cyr, does anybody object to the motion for intervention filed by Goodrich Radio and Robert S. Radio? I think under the court rule, they're entitled to intervention as a matter of right, but if anybody wants to be heard on that, I'll be glad to hear from you.
I don't object, Your Honor.
Okay, on what basis?
A number of grounds, but principally addressing the issue that the court just raised. The sale itself is subject to that tower lease.
Right.
It's acknowledged that there is a tower lease that's in existence that won't be interrupted or changed in any way. We understand it's subject to that tower lease.
But as I understand it, Mr. Warnstrom, that's not the principal basis for your request for intervention, right? It has to do with the disposition of assets.
It has something primarily distribution of
I understand that, but insofar as the tower lease is concerned, my understanding of the tower lease is that that's not something that would grant you a right to intervene in this case. I mean, it might be permissive intervention. What you're asserting here, as I understand your pleading, is an absolute right to intervene because you're concerned about the disposition of the assets. Is that correct? All right. Now, anybody have a response to that? Because I don't see how they're not entitled to intervene as a matter of right. Leave the tower lease out. If anybody wants to tell me why they're not entitled to intervene under